Hi everyone, Aidan here with Anti-Rattle.com. Today we're taking a look at the Hyundai Rack's Sport Rider SE on our 2022 Hyundai Palisade. This is going to be a platform-style bike rack capable of holding up to 2 bikes in these wheel hoops and by the frame up here. We've got a frame hook over the top holding the bike down into place. Frame contact, and especially with a frame hook, is going to mean probably want to avoid carbon frame bikes to just avoid damaging that frame. And with alternative frame bikes, we probably will need a bike adapter bar to ensure that we get good contact with the frame. One thing this has, though, is an 80-pound weight capacity per bike, so it's going to be great for those heavier e-bikes, especially with these cradles ready to accept the tires of a fat bike. So if you have fat bike tires up to 5 inches, these will work great for that too. Now, this does have the ability to tilt away with the bikes loaded. This will give us hatch access in most cases. We've got our pin and retaining clip down at the bottom that I'll remove first, and then a pull pin on the right side that I'll just pull out and lower the rack down. Unfortunately, with how large the tailgate is here, we aren't going to have full clearance. I'll stop it right there. You'll see it will end up hitting our handlebars, but we also have very wide handlebars on our mountain bikes here. So depending on how wide your handlebars are, you might have clearance. You can't always get partial access or reach in through the back of your vehicle or just unload the bike to get hatch access. That is one sacrifice you'll have to make with this bike rack, so just be aware of that. And I can just lift this back into place. It'll lock in, and we can secure that pin and clip underneath it for the added security. That pin and clip can be a little tricky to line up. You might have some luck pushing on the center mast there to actually help lift it into place and open up that hole. From here we can get the bike removed though. We've got secondary points of contact in the form of wheel straps on each cradle. So we'll get those removed by pushing in the button on the side and removing the ratcheting strap. And we do that first because these aren't actually holding the bike upright, so we don't need to worry about having a hand on the bike. For the hooks here, we can press in on the button on the side and lift up. One thing with this is that they don't fully remove. We've got a screw on the side that actually prevents these from being fully lifted up. So it makes loading and unloading a lot more difficult than you might have with some other frame-mounted bike racks. From here, once all that's undone, we can lift and guide the bike away. It will be more difficult on that inner cradle, like we just did, because there just is more to work around. You've got the vehicle to worry about. So just be cautious when you are loading and unloading it. Those hooks do lock though. On the side, they've got a spot where we can lock them up to make sure that our bikes stay secure down in there. And then from here, I always like to lock in these straps just so they aren't freely moving around. And one thing we can check out is some measurements. First one we've got is ground clearance. At the back end here, we are going to be working with 17 inches of ground clearance, which I think should be plenty. We do have a good rise in the shank here, and it doesn't stick out too far, so I don't think bottoming out should be a big concern. For distance added to the back, our outermost cradle is going to be the furthest out point, sitting at 25.5 inches. Which again, isn't too bad compared to some other options out there. We can save some space though by folding it up. We've got our pin that I'll pull out from the center mast here. It is slightly notched and will line up with the notch on these holes here. So just insert it correctly and twist it to lock it in. And then from there, we can pull one pin and fold this up, and this secondary bottom pin will lock in, keeping it in place folded up, and now only sticking out 12.5 inches to the outermost point. So that does save quite a bit of space, and it doesn't stick out too far. It doesn't block our license plate or our backup camera, so it's pretty unobtrusive. It doesn't come close to the vehicle either, so I'm not worried about vehicle contact. Now down towards the hitch, it is going to work with a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube, and the way the hitch pin works, it's not a threaded anti-rattle. It's actually got a integrated tool-free anti-rattle at the back here. That's going to pull the hitch pin tight so it's tool-free and we don't have to worry as much about lining up the hitch pin hole, which is really helpful for installing the bike rack. That hitch pin does lock, and that lock is key to like 2 locks up top, so everything's under one system. And overall, I think it's a pretty solid bike rack. If you need that 80 pounds of capacity, this is great. There's not a lot of bike racks out there that offer such a high weight capacity. I think if you don't quite need that much, maybe 70 pounds is good enough. Check out the Hollywood Rack's Destination e-bike rack. I think that's going to be a little bit easier to load and unload, and just overall maybe easier to use, and still gives you a pretty solid weight capacity. But again, if you need that 80 pounds, this is going to get the job done and work with the Palisade just fine. Thanks for watching.